I cannot forget Mr. Shaheen, who used to live in our neighborhood years ago. Everything about him was extraordinary. The size of his house was way bigger than the rest of the houses in the street. Having served the army all his life, he was notoriously known for his discipline and outspokenness. Wary of his neighbors and most of the people around him, he developed a taste for having exotic animals as his pets. Out of all his fancy pets, I really liked the wolf he had. No matter how much attention the wolf got from the visitors due to its unique characteristics, Mr. Shaheen seemed to take him for granted and ignore him most of the time. "He will take me out one day once he grows old," the retired serviceman once confided when I insisted to know the reason for the treatment meted out to the canine. "Give him a chance and he will also kill all the other animals around, including the rare peacock couple I've got here. Also the deer would be gone in no time." I could not understand his actions and never fancied an argument with him, given his fierce reputation. I could have asked him why keep all the animals in your house when you have fears and anxieties about the pets in your farm, and many other questions, but Russian establishment reminds me of Mr. Shaheen. I always paid Kremlin with Mr. Shaheen to understand and examine very closely the character and background of this massive former superpower. And what could that wolf be? Chechnya, I'm sure. All these dusty memories and stark comparisons came alive when Moscow was rocked by a terrorist attack on 29th March in which around 40 people lost their lives. More than 80 people were injured in the attack that was carried out on the underground train service used by civilians. The attackers were reported to be young female suicide bombers suspected to be part of the Black Widow group in Chechnya, women who had lost their husbands or close relatives like brothers, fathers or sons. All the signs of the attack take us back to Caucasus, land of the ancient resistant peoples known as the Chechens. And to understand them, we have to understand their geography as well as history. A view of a cave in the Caucasus Mountains in Chechnya. The earliest Chechen history record dates back to circa 40,000 BC when a group of people settled in the very caves in the region. The Chechen land comprises of both fertile plains as well as rocky mountains. Map of the present-day borders of the Chechen Republic. The first recorded history of Chechnya dates back to the kingdom of Urartu, founded in 900 BC when a group of tribes called Nakh arrived in the region from ancient Sumeria. Russian historian K. Tumanov, in his work on prehistoric languages of the Caucasus, writes on the migration of the Nakhjo nation, Chechen name of themselves, from Nakhichevan, present-day Azerbaijan, to Chechnya, where they assimilated into the local Caucasians. This is the Chechen flag with the emblem on it. The green color symbolizes Islam, the red Chechen blood and sacrifice, while white is the sign of future peace and prosperity. The 9 stars with 9 corners in the circle represent the 9 major Chechen tribes called Tokoms. The wolf is the most respected animal and symbolizes Chechen spirit of freedom and courage. The Chechen folklore goes, the lion and the eagle are the symbols of strength, but they only attack the animals that are weak. The wolf, however, is the only beast that dares to attack a stronger animal. His lack of strength is compensated for by its extreme courage and adroitness. If he loses the courage, he dies silently, without expression of fear or pain, and he dies proudly, facing his enemy. The early Chechens founded an association of clans called Zurzuketia, which survived into the Middle Ages despite incursions by Khazars, Huns, Arabs, Persians, Mongols, and other invaders. Legend goes that Chechens fiercely resisted the Mongol invasion and forced Tamerlane to sue for peace. Clearly impressed and overwhelmed, the Mongol invader presented them a very precious saber as a recognition of Chechen freedom. Freedom in Chechen culture means immeasurably more than the traditional idea of this word acknowledged by other nations of the world. For Chechen people, freedom is the philosophy of their existence. So much it is important that it is reflected in everyday communication. For example, Chechens greet each other saying Marsha Vogila, which means complete freedom, peace and kindness are extended to you. So much it is vital that the Chechen national anthem is titled Ojalla ya Marsho, death or freedom. Chechens started resisting Russian expeditions that were launched by Ivan the Terrible in the 16th century. Fierce resistance offered by the Chechens kept Russians under the reign of Tsar kings at bay. Wave after wave of incursions into Chechen territories were frustrated by leaders such as Sheikh Mansour and Ghazi Mullah. Following their deaths, Imam Shamil took the mantle of resistance and united the tribes of Chechnya and neighboring state of Dagestan. After failing to outmaneuver the strong Russian army, he resorted to guerrilla warfare tactics until 1859, when he was arrested and exiled to Kiev. This resulted in Chechnya becoming part of the Russian Empire by the end of 19th century, though Chechens continued their resistance to foreign rule. Chechens continued to rebel against the Tsar and were able to establish an independent republic in 1917, which the Bolsheviks fiercely contested. Chechen government was overrun by the communists in 1921 and most of the leaders were executed. Communist authorities in Moscow founded the Soviet Mountain Republic, which was later dissolved in 1924 in favor of the Soviet Republic of North Caucasus. Soviet despot Joseph Stalin ruled the state with an iron fist, and Chechens were made to pay a heavy price for their centuries-long resistance to the Russian domination. While religions including Islam were banned in USSR, Chechen language script was changed to Cyrillic, effectively breaking the backbone of the Chechen society. This turned the Soviets extremely unpopular and invited the wrath of the masses in the Caucasus republics. World War II and Germany's invasion of Soviet Union brought added misery to the Chechen nation. Promised by invading Germans that Chechens will be granted independence in exchange of fighting the Red Army, many Chechens allied with the Nazis alongside anti-communist Russians. The defeat of Germans in the war spelled catastrophe for their allies. Millions of Chechens and Ingush people were expelled from their lands and deported to Kazakhstan. Lavrenti Beria, Stalin's chief of secret security and police apparatus, wrote in a 29 February 1944 telegram to Stalin, "I report the results of the operation of resettling Chechens and Ingush in the majority of raions, with the exception of the high mountain settlements. By 29 February, 478,479 persons were evicted and loaded onto special railway cars, including 91,250 Ingush. 180 special trains were loaded, of which 159 were sent to the new designated place." He did not mention the human cost of this massive deportation in his cable.